Hello, everyone. My name is Kevin Jamison. I am the CEO at Pure Air Filtration. And today we're going to do a quick presentation on temporary and rental systems for odor control and emergency chlorine scrubbers. This is an area of work that Pure Air has expanded over the past few years. There's quite a need for these systems, and we're very pleased with the business that we've been able to work with customers on this. So let's talk about these systems. Well, first of all, let's go over the table of contents. So we're going to just cover some very basics of gas phase filtration, chemisorbent media. Then we're going to talk about the air scrubbing systems that we use for rental and temporary equipment. We're going to briefly talk about different considerations when you're taking a look at these temporary or rental equipments, and go over a few different case studies that we have on those. So first, let's talk about Pure Air Filtration. What sets Pure Air apart from the competition to support temporary and rental units? Well, we're a single source manufacturer of gas phase systems. So you get the complete system from us, including the adsorbent media, the system itself, the adsorber system itself, and monitoring of the systems, which of course is very important. Pure Air is ISO 9001 certified using the 2015, which is the latest version of ISO 9001. We serve lots of different markets and applications. So we go all the way from protecting, taking urban exhaust and super purifying it, all the way up to toxic gas removal. So the full gamut of applications. We provide very customizable solutions and engineered unique designs based on specific needs and requirements. So if you can conceive of it, we could probably build it for you. We have multiple families of adsorbents, carbons, engineered adsorbent medias, different products for different applications. So we're sure that we've got the product for you. We also have monitoring of the adsorbent media. So you know how much life the adsorbent media has left in the system. There's no guesswork, there's no surprises. We have various monitoring systems and support for you. We have a laboratory for testing media samples if you want to send media samples back to us to determine how much life is left in there. And we have this laboratory allows us to do manual field monitoring of the adsorbent life. So let's first talk about gas filtration. What is gas phase filtration? Well, during COVID, we all learned about removal of viruses and bacteria from the air using HEPA filters. So if we're looking at particulate filtrations, particles like smoke and dust, we're talking about the size of 0.03 to 100 microns. If we're talking about liquids, which are liquids in the air, this is mists, vapors, and fogs, we're basically in the 1 to 9 microns. But the gases that we specialize in removing are in the 0.0003 to 0.007 micron. They're far too small to capture in normal particulate filters. So what do we have to do to capture these gases? Well, that's what gas phase filtration is. So we are specialists at removing particles that are far smaller than viruses using this technology, gas phase filtration. For this type of technology, we use an adsorbent media bed. And in that adsorbent media bed, contaminants go into the adsorbent media bed. The gases flow through. The adsorbent media is captured in what's called the active transfer zone. So at any particular time, you're generally going to have 3 areas: the spent media, the active transfer zone, and the used media. So that active transfer zone starts here in the beginning, and it moves its way through. As it breaks through to the end or the outlet of the system, that's when it's time to change the adsorbent media. So knowing where this active transfer zone is very important for determining the performance of the system and the remaining life of the adsorbent media. So we have the tools to help you define that in your systems. So how does this gas phase filtration work? Well, it uses the principle of adsorption and chemisorption. So the way I'd like to explain adsorption is if you have a puddle of water on a table and you take a sponge and you place the sponge in the puddle of water, that water gets adsorbed up into the sponge and it takes up all the pores inside the sponge. And generally that whole sponge will eventually become damp, even if it started off really, really dry. The water spreads out through that. That's the process of adsorption. And activated carbon, just plain activated carbon, is a very common product used in the adsorption of gases. So activated carbon is like a gas sponge. I think that's the best way to describe it. Gases go in and they get captured in this activated carbon. Well, like a sponge, if you took a sponge and you wrung that sponge out and the water came out of the sponge, the same thing happens with activated carbon. The gases can come out of activated carbon under the right changes in temperature, pressure, humidity, various conditions. Those gases come back out. Well, if you are trying to remove gases, but they're slowly leaking out in different ways, then that's not the best type of system if you're looking for high efficiency. So pure air typically relies on a subset of adsorption called chemisorption, where we take our adsorbents and we add a chemical to it, which neutralizes the gases. So the gases go in, they're captured just like activated carbon inside, but then they go through a chemical reaction that convert the gases to a harmless solid, which this whole product can be typically disposed of in a landfill. So this is a permanent reaction and you don't have any gases that come back out of the system. So how do we do that? We do that with chemisorbent media. Here's examples of some of the chemisorbent media that we produce and supply to our customers. So we have lots of different types, and we can also blend different types. So you can see here that this is a blend of a purple and a black one to make this blended combination. So we have lots of different blends. We have lots of different substrates. Why do we have so many? Well, it's because some adsorbents are good for capturing certain gases. Some are good for capturing other gases. Some are broad range, and some are very, very long lasting. And so we have the complete toolbox to provide the solution that our customers need. There aren't too many applications that we can't provide a very nice solution for the customer. So there's a difference between activated carbon and engineered adsorbent media. So this is what Pure Air specializes in. First, activated carbon is not UL fire certifiable, right? Activated carbon is charcoal. So just like a charcoal grill, activated carbon can catch on fire. There are many recorded instances of activated carbon spontaneously catching on fire. So engineered adsorbent medias are typically UL certifiable for fire resistance. So that's a real benefit of engineered adsorbents. Activated carbon is highly affected by humidity in the air. So typically anything over 50% humidity has a real dramatic effect on the activated carbon, reducing its process. Engineered adsorbents typically love to be in a humid environment. They're typically referred to as hygrophilic. This is a reversible process. Activated carbon is. Engineered media is typically irreversible. Sometimes activated carbon can't be disposed of because it doesn't convert the hazardous gases that it's caught into anything. And so those hazardous acids, let's say, in that case, are left intact. And so they prevent the activated carbon from being disposed of in a landfill. Almost always, engineered adsorbents are landfill disposable. Also, lastly, our adsorbent media can typically be measured for consumption. So you can send a sample back of our adsorbent media and we can tell you how much life is left in it. Not very easy to do with activated carbon. So let's jump to the subject of our air scrubbing equipment for rental and temporary applications. So generally, we see temporary and rental and more portable applications needed in these two fields: odor and environmental emissions and emergency gas scrubbers. So we do have two other fields that we work in. for protection of mission critical equipment and indoor air quality, but we typically don't see applications for temporary or rental systems in that market. So, so what is the difference between a rental versus a temporary system? All right, well, a rental system, Pure Air maintains a small fleet of these rental systems that we own, and we rent them out to customers, typically for a 6 to 12 month period. Now, it can certainly be rented for less than a 6 to 12 month period, but generally it's most economic if it's a 6 to 12 month period, because the initial set of adsorbent media has to be paid for with the beginning of the rental. And so if you only used it for 1 month, then the adsorbent media wouldn't be consumed. And so typically it's just not attractive to rent for less than 6 months, let's say. So that's a rental unit, the system. We have a fleet of these. You can call up, see if we have one available. You can try to reserve one for the future. Right now, all of our systems are out for rental, but we do know when they're going to be coming off of rental, and we can typically plan for you to have those when they become available. Temporary units. Well, temporary units a little different story. The temporary unit is owned by the customer, but we build the system such that it is meant for short-term life, right? So typically our systems, our permanent systems, are designed for 20-year plus life. For a temporary system, we're going to build the system out of low-cost materials. The system's going to work very nicely, but it's not going to be as costly as a permanent system. And so we're able to put together a fairly low-cost system. Here you can see we've taken an ocean container and we've added some racking for adsorbent cassettes, and then we've installed these 5 fans on the system. And this system provides something like 40,000 CFM or more of temporary odor control there. So it's this for ventilation and generally for lower levels of odors, but we've produced a number of these and they've always performed very, very nicely with it. So that's the difference between a rental and a temporary system. Now, the other part of it being a temporary system is can also be a permanent system, but in a portable system. So I'll mention that to you as well. A customer might buy a system, but it's going to be designed for a 20-year life, but it's going to be on wheels so that he can move it around. So here's rental systems. Here's examples of the rental systems we have. So these big system, Pure Air has 4 of these currently that we own that are shipped all over the country. I should say both US and Canada. We've used them in both US and Canada. And you can see that this is a very economical, this is a epoxy coated steel design, and it is based on a roll-off container. So you can see it has wheels here. You can actually pull this unit up onto a roll-off truck very easily, and you can empty out the adsorbent media from the back gate. The blower skid has a mist and grease filter and a blower on there, and these connect to the adsorber vessel. So these 2 systems can be very easily loaded onto a roll-off container, onto a roll-off truck, or lifted onto a flatbed truck and transported across the country. Very, very easy to transport, very easy to operate. And we have 4 of these, which are just being sent out to customers all the time for different applications. This could be used for odor control, or it could be used for emergency chlorine control as well. So you could have enough adsorbent media in here to capture a 1-ton chlorine event with it. Here's another example of a rental unit. We have a few of these around. This is a DS 1000. It's a drum scrubber 1000 CFM unit. So it has a blower based on a trailer. It has a mist and grease filter blower, and then the adsorber vessel here. So this is just put on a small trailer that you can pull behind a pickup truck. And these are very nice to have either as a rental, or you could purchase the entire unit from us as well, new, in case the customer wants to have this on a permanent basis, be able to move it from location to location. So as far as the rental units go, Pure Air's rental equipment offers a turnkey solution that can be customized for application and airflow requirements. Rental equipment is commonly used for temporary odor control during construction, during equipment repair. We've very often had customers that have a biofilter, and the biofilter needs service, and so they need something to go in its place while the biofilter is in service. Also during transitions in projects, or as additional odor control for highly contaminated streams. So if they have more odor than they anticipated, then they can use our system to help supplement their current odor program. What are the benefits? Immediate startup and performance. You don't have to wait 6 months for approval and capital budget approval. Minimal maintenance on the systems. They're very reliable and fast-acting solution. Portable. We have both long and short-term rentals, high and low airflows, deep bed with multiple stages of media. We also have cassette systems that could be used. Startup and service training can be included in the cost. So these are the 4 types of rental systems that we have. A DS1000, which can provide airflow of up to 1,250 CFM with 39 cubic feet and typically a trailer included with it. We can also do up to a VBS 8 on a trailer if necessary. That's an optional, and that'll hold up to 150 cubic feet with 3,770 CFM max. A roll-off unit, like I was showing before, the big square one, can do up to 15,000 CFM and hold up to 570 cubic feet of adsorbent media. We have rented those on trailers before. Typically, we'll just rent a flatbed trailer to put this on and just rent the trailer for the time needed. Emergency gas scrubber roll-off is the same type of unit configured for a chlorine scrubber. These can provide up to 15,000 CFM, but really they're limited. They generally are limited to about 5,000 CFM. Again, 570 cubic feet, and they can be put on a trailer if needed. So let's talk about temporary units, though. So temporary and rental units are different. So Pure Air's temporary equipment offers a turnkey solution that can be customized for applications and airflows. Same type of thing. Well, this should say temporary equipment. Sorry about that. But here are some temporary or portable units. Now, these units have a 20-year minimum life, but the customer has asked them to be mounted on trailers so that they can take them to various sites and use them on short-term projects. So maybe they have a particular odor in one particular area, so they can drive this trailer to the site and turn the system on, plug the system in and turn it on, and starts providing odor control right away. So this is a 1,000 CFM system here. This is a 5,000 CFM system here. You can see very large trailer that this has been put on with a gooseneck connection for a pickup truck or similar to that. This has just got a standard tow ball connection here. All these are DOT certified, or they meet DOT requirements because all these units have been tied down into the structural part of the trailer. We don't just tie them down into the wooden floorboards. You have to tie them down into the metal structure so that nothing comes off in transportation. So just taking a look at what information do we need for designing an odor control system? Well, it's generally 2 things. How much odor do you have, and how much, what airflow do you need? But when it comes to these temporary systems, we also need to know about what size, as far as what's your largest footprint, what kind of a trailer do you want it on? If you want it on a trailer, what kind of access do you want for the system? We can adjust our design based on that. What odors are you looking for? There's lots and lots of different odors that we can pursue for you, all the way from fresh odor smells to hydrogen sulfide. That's the primary odor that we work with. mercaptans and other reduced sulfur compounds. This one's a really terrible one, dimethyl disulfide. It's the smell of putrid garlic. People don't like that. We can also handle ammonia and amines and VOCs. Here's some of the smells that some of those odors provide. As I mentioned, dimethyl disulfide, well, here they call it decayed vegetables. So, but there's lots of very irritating, terrible smells that can be at very, very low levels, and Pure Air has no problem to greatly reduce, if not completely eliminate, all those odors. So let's take a look at a couple case studies where Pure Air has worked on temporary rental or mobile systems. So first one is MWRA Nut Island Headworks facility in Boston, Massachusetts. So this is a very, very important facility for MWRA in Boston. There is this system is literally located in the middle of a park with walking trails and everything there. So Walsh Construction came to us and said that they needed a temporary system, but it had to meet MWRA's very, very strict requirements for 99.5% H2S reduction. So Walsh came to us. This is not the first time that we worked with Walsh. They know that they can get a great system from us. And we rented to them a roll-off 20 unit filled with our Sulfazorb XL, which is targeted for hydrogen sulfide removal, long-lasting Sulfazorb XL product. They required the 99.5% H2S reduction at 15,000 CFM, and it was going to be tested on delivery. So Pure Air certainly met all the requirements in that project. The project lasted for 16 months. The adsorbent media did not need to be replaced over that 16 months. We did have a spare set on hand for the customer in case Walsh needed it, but a very, very long-lasting Sulfazorb XL lasted for the 16 months. And at the end, Walsh returned the system to us, and we were able to provide that to another customer. So great success story right in the middle of a park at MWRA while they were doing some rehab on that facility. Here is a video of that. I'm going to play this for you. Let's see, I'm going to try to play it for you. So this is the system, this is the duct coming into and coming out of it here. So you can see very extensive duct with the system coming in and going out. Here, this is our blower in it with a transition into the system. Here's a mist and grease filter that the system had. And here we're actually doing the testing. We're actually injecting hydrogen sulfide into the inlet duct and measuring it coming off to make sure that we are meeting the 99.5% reduction. We far exceeded that requirement. I think we had basically 100% H2S removal during that test. Another case study is with a fertilizer manufacturer in Louisiana. This fertilizer manufacturer is planning a very large shutdown during the summer months this summer, and required two actually roll-off units, 15,000 CFM roll-off, to go into their shelter in place area. So in the event that there is some type of release during the maintenance of their facility, they have a large tent which employees can go to. This large tent has enclosed sides, and these roll-off units will basically pump the tent full of purified air, protecting the people inside of the tent. So these roll-off unit provides 15,000 CFM of purified air going into that tent to protect people. So not only has this customer rented two of our roll-off units, they have actually purchased as well a unit which will be used in their, they like the technology so much that they want to put this into permanent use at their facility, providing additional protection for employees during operations, not just during this shutdown period. Here's another example of temporary movable odor control system. So this is for the city of Albuquerque, New Mexico. Their wastewater treatment facility wanted 2 portable units that were permanent, but portable units. So we provided one 5,000 CFM unit on a 30-foot trailer, and we provided one 1,000 CFM unit on a 12-foot trailer. Each of these had redundant systems, so you would only use 2 vessels here at a time. So there was always one vessel that could be used for change out of the system. Of these 2, one would always be used and the other one would be as redundant. Also, the customer had a requirement to be ultra quiet. The blowers that we use on these systems were so quiet, and the customer was so impressed with how quiet they were that they've been ordering just blowers from us as well in the future, just because they're so pleased with the blower that we've been able to provide. Each of these systems has to run off of a generator. It's very important to know they operate off of a VFD, and VFDs don't operate very well off a generator. So we had to do some important design in the electrical panel for the system to make sure that basically the dirty power that comes off of a generator is acceptable to a variable frequency drive, so the system will run very well. So Pure Air is the full solution for your temporary rental and portable systems. We provide the full solution for you in this case. We help you identify the problems, design an appropriate solution, whether that's a solution we have on hand that we can rent to you or a solution that we can build and send to you. We follow through with implementation of the solution, come out and help you out in the field to make sure the system's working very well. And then we have monitors on the system to let you know how well the system's working and when the absorbent media needs to be replaced. So at this point in time, if you have any questions, please do raise your hand in Zoom and let me know of any questions you have. Now, I can't necessarily see anyone who's raising their hand. So Jennifer, if you could let me know if anybody is raising their hand. All right. So I don't, oh, here, I do. I see one question. Ken Miller is asking a question. How noisy are the systems? Well, Ken, we can make these systems practically silent. Typically, we are using a very specific blower with a very, very low noise level. But on top of that, we can put the blower inside of an enclosure. And so within that, inside that enclosure, it's very, very quiet in general. You wouldn't hear hardly any noise just stepping away from the unit. So if needed, we can provide a system below 60 decibels for your customer. And that's certainly what we did with the city of Albuquerque, and they were very, very pleased with the sound level of the systems. So Ken, thanks for the question. Any other questions? All right. Well, I appreciate all of our attendees today. Thank you very, very much for your time. I appreciate you joining us. And for general reference, this will be recorded and put on our YouTube channel. So if you know of anyone who wasn't able to attend today, within the next couple of days, they'll be able to go to our YouTube channel. Just simply go to YouTube and type in Pure Air Filtration. You'll find our channel. There's lots of great videos on there for anyone to learn about our products or just the general technology. Thank you very much for your time. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to send me an email at kjameson@pureairfiltration.com. Thanks. Have a great day.